Hey everybody, welcome on board my channel. My name is Joe, and as you already know, I'm a real-world 737 pilot, and I enjoy making flight sim videos to share my experience through the flight sim community. I'll be using the beautiful Zibo mod for the Boeing 737, which is available on X-Plane 11 and on X-Plane 12, and if you haven't checked it out yet, I would highly recommend trying it out. It is as close to the real plane as you could imagine, and on top of that, it's completely free, and the team behind it is doing an amazing job daily. You'll find the links for it down below in the descriptions. Today we are in Naples, in Italy, and as you can see we have the beautiful Vesuvio volcano just behind us. However, we won't stay here too long, as in today's video we'll see how to recover from a high energy approach situation. That's the part 2 of that mini series, and if you haven't checked the part 1 yet, I highly recommend that you check it out, because the part 1 is all about the theory and the part 2 will be all about the practical stuff. So the part 1 is very important as well if you want to make the most out of the part 2. So you can find the link down below as well. Alright everybody, so here we are, we just started the descent. We are flight level 242 and descending to flight level 200 direct aircap. We are exactly on our vertical profile with VNAV and we are almost on speed. Okay, so here it's perfect. In an ideal world, this is what you want to be doing in real life. Now let's say that for this exercise we will have a traffic coming in front of us and the ATC will have to stop our descent at flight level 200. We'll see how to recover from it. First thing first, what is a high energy approach? High energy approach is an excessive speed and or altitude or both during the final approach, which will make your approach very challenging. For example, it will be hard for you to configure your airplane on time or to land within the touchdown zone. Now the trick is that if you have already a high energy situation now at flight level 228 and you don't recover from it now, then there are great chances that you will keep this situation until the ground. So my best advice would be to correct it as soon as you can. That will make your life much easier. Especially when you get below 10,000 feet, you don't have much option left because you are already getting close to the terrain and you can't increase your speed much higher than 250 knots. So it's very important, okay? Now about energy state, because here we are going to talk about energy management, and basically the energy of this plane is very simple. Total energy of the plane is the sum of your speed plus altitude, okay? Well, the speed that we want is very simple. Is the target speed 245 knots. Here is 245 knots, so it's a constant value, okay? And the altitude that we want to be at will be a constant value for a 3-degree glide path. So basically you have your 3-degree glide path, which is depicted here. If you get higher than that, you have excessive altitude, so excessive potential energy. And if you have a speed higher than 245, it will be excessive kinetic energy, okay? But we'll keep it simple, we'll do speed and altitude. So basically your total energy is the sum of the speed plus altitude. So if you have too much altitude, it would be wise to reduce your speed. If you have too much speed, it would be wise to reduce your flight level. Now the ATC tells us stop descent flight level 200 due traffic, so we stop the descent. Remember, to maintain 3-degree glide path, we should have 5 times the ground speed, so here we should have something around 1600 feet per minute. However, we have 0 because we are on alt hold, so we are getting above our profile. So basically we have too much altitude, so too much potential energy. And now the other thing that we can do would be to reduce our kinetic energy, so we can reduce our speed. So we'll go speed intervent and we start reducing the speed. Something very interesting as well to consider is I put 210 here, but I don't know exactly what is the up speed because for some reason it's not shown on the PFD. I can go on initRef page, I check the speed for flaps 40, 138, plus 70, it's 208. So the up speed is 208, so I believe that 210 should keep us safe. So you see that now we are reducing our speed energy, okay? But we are still increasing our potential energy, which is the altitude, towards our calculated descent profile. So at least there's something to do. When we'll be at 2000 feet above, then we will start descending again. So ATC clears us now that we can descend to flight level 80. Okay, so now we can press level change and increase the speed again. Watch, we are at 2200 feet above profile run now. We put 250 knots with level change. You are still with idle thrust, of course. 289 knots, let's say 1500 feet per minute to maintain 3-degree glide path. You have almost 4000 feet per minute. So now you're going back towards your descent profile, and it shows here that basically you're going to get closer towards your calculated descent profile. And the speed is still good because we are still not faster than the target speed. So we don't have any excessive speed yet, which is very good for us. Now we're reaching our target speed, so basically our rate of descent will almost be the same as the calculated one. So here it won't change much than that. Once we will be at 250 knots, you'll see that the rate at which we go closer to our descent profile is getting almost null, and that shows here it's always the same. So we are still too high and we still have too much potential energy. So what can we do now is we can trade altitude for speed. Okay, so now we will increase the speed again, and let's say 300 knots. So now we're going to 300 knots. That means that we will increase again. So now we will have excess speed. However, we are finally decreasing our potential energy, which is our altitude, okay, towards our descent profile. So we have a crazy rate of descent, which is good for us. And what I like to do now at this stage is to check the difference between my speed, 300 knots, minus the target speed, 245, that makes it 55. I do times 3 times 10. So basically here it will be, let's say 50 times 3, 150 times 10, around 1500 feet. So usually when you get below the profile, 1500 feet below your profile, you can press back VNAV. Because you'll be below, VNAV will go on VNAV path, 1000 feet per minute, fixed rate of descent, and then your speed will decrease again and you will go back towards your profile. Now in reality, 3 times is too conservative and 2 times is not enough. So here I'll say not at 1500 feet, not at 900 feet, but I'll do it at something like 1100 feet or something like this. And then you will see what will happen. 1100, we press VNAV, we go on VNAV path, we are decreasing our rate of descent. It will go to a fixed rate of descent of 1000 feet per minute because we are too low. The speed is now decreasing again because we are still keeping the thrust to idles, and you will see that we should catch the profile back almost at the same time as we catch the correct speed as well. So now we'll just have to wait and see. Still at flight level 120, we want to be at 250 or below, below 10,000 feet, or flight level 100 in this case. So we'll see how that goes. For the sake of this exercise, I'm not really paying attention to the speed restriction at flight level 100, okay? So 275, that's like 30 knots times 2, yeah, almost. So we should be almost on the correct speed when we will reach the correct descent profile. And remember, at that stage I still haven't used any speed brake. So basically we were too high, 2000 feet, and just by managing our energy, we didn't have to do something else. We were just keeping correct energy management, and you see that now it's going good. We're catching back our profile. We are within 10 knots of our target speed. It says drag required, but in reality we won't even need it because we still have 200 feet too low. And now you see we'll be within, I would say, within 5 knots of our target speed. You're still not at 10,000 feet. You managed to recover from the high energy approach without even using any speed brakes, just by knowing how to deal with your energy state. So that's very interesting and very important to know how to deal with this. Now in the next exercise we'll talk about more or less the same technique, but we will use some functions of the VNAV which is available for us as well. So you see 248 exactly on the profile, 10,000 feet, that's perfect for us. No speed brakes used, that's a perfect energy management. Here we are for the next exercise. Basically it will be exactly the same as we did before. The only difference will be that VNAV will be doing the work for you on this one. So now ATC stops our descent at flight level 200 due to traffic. Okay, we know that our target speed is supposed to be 245. So this is the speed that we want to have. And that's about it. I will not start decelerating like we did in the previous exercise. Instead, I will simulate to VNAV that we are already too slow, as if we had already decelerated to 245 knots, because now what we will do instead is to put a target speed which is much higher than this. So first thing I'd like to do is to go on speed intervent, because at least you know, you are sure that VNAV will keep this speed. Okay, so you keep 245 knots. We are already at 8,000 feet, 800 feet above the profile. I will wait that we have like something like 1500 feet above the profile, and then we will see what we will do to VNAV. So let's pretend at 1500 feet that the ATC finally cleared us, and now we can descend to flight level 100. So now we're descending flight level 100. Initially, let's go with level change, and actually we can go on VNAV but with speed intervent. Okay, so now we have VNAV speed, we are descending, it is exactly the same as level change because we are with speed intervent, and will be 245 knots. 1600 feet above the profile. Now we will simulate that we are actually too slow compared to the VNAV calculated speed. So now we should tell VNAV that actually we don't want to be descending at 245 knots. We want to be descending at, let's say, 260 knots, for example. So we increase this. 260 knots. Our descent profile now, we were 1600 feet above, and now we are 1400 feet above. Do you think that's gonna be enough, the acceleration, to catch back 1400 feet? No, probably not. So probably we'll need to put something higher. Let's try 280 knots. Here it's just a matter of trying out. Okay, you just need to try. Look, 1400 feet above, we execute, and now it will change 1100 feet above the profile. Do you think it's gonna be enough from 245 to 280? Probably not yet, so maybe we can try 290. We try 290 and we will be 1000 feet. I believe that should do the job. So now we can remove speed intervent. VNAV will go now for the speed 290, so now you're diving to reach 290 knots. Okay, of course, because you're now diving, you are increasing your speed, and remember, our new speed was 290, so at the moment you still don't have any excessive kinetic energy. Basically you had less kinetic energy than what you were supposed to have. You're going back towards your profile, and look at that, you're coming back towards 290 knots within 200 feet of the profile. So now you go back on VNAV path. Now you reached your 290 knots ish, and you are exactly on your profile, which is very good for you. So now you have your new profile with 290 knots. Now the only difference you'll see here is if you didn't do this, and if you did as we did previously, you would have no green dot here. Here we got two new green dots, and basically what are those? They're just a deceleration point, because we know that by flight level 100 we would like to be at 240 knots. Of course we could modify it and put 250, but on this exercise it is set at 240 knots. So what these dots is telling you is that this one, when you will reach it just before flight level 100, the plane will pitch up and the speed will gradually descend to 240 knots. Okay, and the second dot is when you will have finished your deceleration, still before flight level 100. So at that stage at flight level 100 you will be safe, you will have the correct speed restriction, you will have the good speed, and you will be exactly on profile. So we'll just wait until we reach this kilo 541 point, and then you will see how the speed will be gradually decelerating basically. That's the only thing. Another thing I'd like to add is it is all easy. This one is very easy. This technique is super easy. We can do it. We don't need to think too much about it. However, I would recommend to first understand what VNAV is doing before setting it up like this, because we are humans and we are prone to errors, and it's always nice to understand what you tell VNAV to do before just blindly pressing some buttons and not understanding what VNAV is actually doing, because if you make a mistake later on, you never know basically if VNAV is doing a good job or not. And here, because you knew what you were doing, you can always cross-check if VNAV is doing a good job. You don't want to be asking what the plane is doing. No, you should know what the plane is doing, and if the plane is not doing something you want, you should revert to a lower level of automation. For example, from VNAV you would go to level change and should prepare your descent mentally, as we did in the previous exercise. So now we're reaching this green dot. You'll see that the speed will start to gradually decrease. Now we have 289, 288 and so on. It will gradually decrease to 240 knots as we set here on the speed restriction. Okay, we are still above flight level 100 at the moment, and you see that rate of descent is decreasing, so the speed is decreasing as well, and you should reach 240 knots by the second dot. Now a good thing to consider is if you have, for example, a lot of tailwind here, the plane might be a bit slow to decelerate, and at that stage it would be wise to use a little bit of speed brakes if you really want to make it to respect this speed restriction below flight level 100. So that's about it. Then let's go for the next exercise. So now we will simulate that the ATC gives us a shortcut to a 10 miles final, okay? So 10 miles final is this point here. We'll put it, legs, execute. Okay, we have this 4,400 feet above, and we are still descending. However, we are way too high, and we are on VNAV speed at the moment. With the speed should be around 250 knots, something like this. Hey guys, do you think that now would be a good idea to increase our speed again to 290 knots, for example? Probably not, because very soon you'll be at 10,000 feet, and 10,000 feet you want to be at 250 knots maximum, okay? So now first thing you would do would be to put the speed brakes down, to put the speed brakes up, okay? So the speed brakes will help you. Now you can check the green banana, what she's gonna give you, okay? So with this current rate of descent, green banana will be there. However, remember, there will be at 5,000 feet, and probably here will be, we have elevation which is 1,200 plus 3,000 feet would be around 4,200. So we will be too high, first thing first. More than that, we will need to decelerate because we want to be below 200 knots. Okay, and we want to have some flaps, because remember 10 miles would be 3,000 feet, 200 knots and flaps 1. So at that stage we can do something else. We can reduce our kinetic energy, so we reduce our speed. We put 220 knots, we keep the speed brakes up, and now I'll show you the technique which will give you the best rate of descent you can have while being slow. Okay, so now would be 220 knots, we will put flaps 5 and keep speed brakes up. So now we are below 250 knots, so we can put flaps 1, we keep 220, absolutely no problem for that. We will have a little bit more drag, gonna be fine. Now we can put flaps 5 and we keep that speed, okay? Now you see our rate of descent is getting phenomenal. We are going towards our descent profile again. The green banana is here, so much earlier than before. And more than that, we will be slow, we'll be at 220 knots. So absolutely no problem for that. Initially I would rather go on VNAV speed rather than VNAV path, but yeah, I don't know why we had VNAV path, should be VNAV speed. but now we'll go on level change to 20, okay, so that the plane doesn't keep accelerating. Otherwise we will overspeed this we will overspeed the flaps, and we don't want that. So we keep level change and we continue on this descent. So the best is when the automations are not giving you what you want, just go one level down of automation. So for example, here we had full guidance with VNAV. We don't want that, we want level change. That's gonna be enough for us. So level change, speed brakes up, flaps 5, you keep 220 knots. If you want to have an even better descent gradient, you can put 190 knots with flaps 10 and speed brakes up. Okay, this will be even better because you will be slow and you will still have a good rate of descent, so that will help you even more. Here will still be good. Now next, look, 5,000 feet, 3 to 1 rule, 2,000 feet to go. We want to be at 2,000 feet per minute maximum. So the next step would be to put vertical speed 2,000 feet, and we can reduce the speed again. Let's put 190, okay? Just flaps 1 speed or something like this. Good, now we are reducing the speed, still going towards our profile, because remember, we should have 5 times our ground speed. In this case would be around 1,100 feet. However, we are at 2,000 feet per minute, so that's still good. We are still going towards our 3-degree glide path, and we still have perfect speed for us at the moment. One to go would be 1,000 feet. The speed is still decreasing, so that's good for us. Let's go for the flaps 5 maneuvering speed. 1,000 to go is checked. Now we are reducing, of course, our rate that we are catching back towards our descent profile, but that's not really a problem. We know that the ATC will clear us very soon. We keep the speed brakes up at the moment. ATC now clears us to descent altitude 4,000 feet, and we are cleared for the ILS, let's say. Okay, so now what we can do would be to increase the speed, maybe 180 or something like this. Okay, 180, you will still be good with the 3 to 1 rule. 3,000 feet, 200 knot, minimum flaps 1. You see, we are going towards our profile. Speed calculated at this 10 miles point would be 193, will be below that 180 knots. So you see that basically we will still be good for the turn and we won't overshoot it. We are at 1 to go, 1,000 feet per minute, that's perfect for us. And we are going back towards our profile. Now I think it would be okay. We can put back VNAV. We have VNAV path on the profile with the correct speed. And now finally we can put speed brakes up again. And now you are established. You're turning towards your final. You have glide slope there. You have correct sensing basically. Now you can arm the approach again. Well, for the first time you can arm the approach. And you will see that you will establish probably on both at the same time now. Look at that, localized captured, glide slope capture at the same time. We would put the missed approach altitude and the runway heading, which is 252 at the moment in Krakow. 252 is set here. So we have the speed brakes up now. You see 10 miles, 4,200. Remember, elevation in Krakow 1,200, so we are at 3,000 feet above aerodrome level. We are below 200 knot, and we have more than flaps 1. We have flaps 5 at the moment, so it's perfect. We are established, we are very safe and very stable as well. So we managed to recover from 4,000 feet above the profile to the 10 miles final point, which is very good. Now of course, if you don't manage to do this, if you see it's not gonna work, don't hesitate to ask more distance to the ATC, and he will probably turn you a little bit on a small downwind or something like this. He will make you do some zigzags so that you have a little bit more distance in order to descend a little bit more and to go back towards your 3-degree glide path. Okay, so that's very important to know. If it's not working, don't be shy, just ask the ATC some vectors and he will for sure help you. That's about it. So here we can see everything is good. Now for the deceleration here, a good thing to do would be 10 miles 200, 9 miles 190, 8 miles 180, 7 miles 170. We are at 170 knots, that's okay. And then basically now we have flaps 5 maneuvering speed, we keep it until 4 miles. If you have a big tailwind here that keeps you from decelerating, basically your speed, you want to be at 168 here, let's imagine it was at 190 knots, okay? First you would put probably flaps 10 to increase your drag and basically to improve your deceleration. If it's not working, you can still use a little bit of speed brake, but if you have, let's say, 20 knots of tailwind, I would recommend that instead of putting the gear down at 4 miles, which is the normal point at which we put the gear down, I would do it earlier at 5, 6, even 7 miles. We don't know how the condition will be, you know, and that will help you with decelerating your plane. Always make sure that you are situation aware and that you know what you are doing. 4 miles we should put the gear down. I'm not gonna do it, we'll go for the other exercise right now. Alright everyone, so here we are fully configured for landing on the runway 25. I wanted to simulate a very difficult deceleration with a lot of tailwind. We have 10 knots, didn't change anything. I did 60 knots of tailwind, still didn't change anything for us. The sim is not cooperating with me and the plane is decelerating as if there was absolutely no wind. So I decided to give up this exercise. However, I'll still show you how to go around. So here we will simulate that we have a traffic coming in front of us, and then you know, we will have to go around, of course. So you follow me through and you will see. Initially we'll be push toga, go around, flap 15, set, go around rest. We start climbing, positive rate, get up, and then, you know, we retract the flaps on schedule. So let's say that we have to go around, we push toga, go around, flaps 15, set, go around rest, positive rate, get up, follow the flight directors, accelerating again. Now we have above flaps 15 maneuvering speed, flaps 5, above flaps 5 maneuvering speed, flaps 1. Trim it up a little bit because now you're losing quite a lot of lift. Now you can go with LNAV. Above flaps 1 maneuvering speed, flaps up. You did flaps up, now you can call that you are going around to the ATC. So for example, Ryanair 123 going around. And now we continue the climb until we level off, okay? Once you level off, you trim it out, you engage autopilot, and then you ask for after takeoff checklist. So just something to note here is when you are doing single channel approach, I mean ILS Cat 1 for example, if you go around, the autopilot will disconnect, auto throttle will remain active. However, if you are doing a dual channel approach, for example a auto land, then it will be automatic go around. So you will keep the autopilot on this. So now we level off, be at 4,000 feet. Trim the plane. Bit nose up trim. Should be good. We can engage Command B. And now we can ask for after takeoff checklist. And of course, next will be decision. Probably here in that case we will be landing on the other runway because we will have 10 knots of headwind instead of tailwind, which will make it easier for us. And as well, we have to make sure that the ATC doesn't mess up again because we don't want any traffic on the runway when we land. Alright everybody, thank you very much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to drop a like. It will be much appreciated. Once again, thank you and see you next time.